All right, you guys. Ticket TV, like, share, and subscribe as y'all tap on in, man. Man, I appreciate everybody that's in the building, man. Much love, honor, and respect to all of y'all. And we're gonna get right into this video. First, I need everybody that's in here. Salute to all of y'all. Make sure y'all go and click the link. It's pinned at the top of the chat. Subscribe to our podcast show. We have almost 6,000 subscribers on our podcast show. Today, I released probably like 6 or 7 different clips on the podcast show. And I will have more. I'm going live about some of this stuff on the podcast show tonight. So if you guys are not subscribed, click that link. Subscribe, man. Out of everybody that's watching this video, all you guys should be subscribed because some of the things I can't really say on here that I'm going to say on that podcast and speculate on that podcast. I just don't want to say it on YouTube. Y'all know how YouTube be acting sometimes with some of this stuff, man. But make sure y'all click that link. It's pinned at the top of the chat. But we got to get into this, man. Everybody thought, and this may not be what you think. When I seen 50's name in the file, I said, oh shit. They thought Curtis was playing. What I'm about to show y'all. 50, let me just start by saying this. Everything that's in the Epstein files, we already know. You know what I'm saying? We don't know if it's an ongoing investigation. We don't know if it's a closed investigation. We don't know what the hell is going on. We just know that all this stuff was a part of Jeffrey Epstein investigation, whether true or false. You know what I'm saying? But this isn't to place guilt on anybody. But we're talking about what's in these files, bro. And 50 Cent is in these files, but it's crazy what is going on. And let me say this. 50, we all know he went directly at Diddy. 50 came out and he said he was going to do the documentary on Diddy. And everybody thought that 50 was capping. They said, nah, that nigga ain't doing no documentary, man. He capping, he joking. 50 wasn't capping. Then they said, after he did that documentary, 50 says, yeah, you know what? I got the film and stuff like that. Well, before the documentary came out, he said, I got never before seen footage. People didn't believe that. He haven't. And he says he got more. He said he got more footage of Diddy that if the world seen this footage that he has, everybody that defended him would, they just basically be ashamed of themselves. That's what 50 said. Remember, 50 still have not released that footage. They hinted that he may be doing another documentary after that in different news reports referring to the Diddy situation. But let's fast forward. 50 has been going at Jay-Z. He's been going hard at Jay-Z, but he's been poking at Jay-Z. But he's been putting things online about Jay-Z. And the other day I told y'all already remember the other day Jay-Z popped up in these files. He popped up in these Epstein files the other day in that FBI, intake report. You understand? When somebody called the FBI and basically gave them this information and made these allegations against Jay-Z and Pusha T as well, and Harvey Weinstein as well. 50, when he saw Jay-Z's name in the files, 50 went online and 50 said, wow, I may have to do a documentary on that. Now, at the same time, this woman have been going crazy at Jay-Z, Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj have teamed up with Donald Trump. I talked about it on my other channel, Ticket TV Network, TTV Network, actually TTV Network, my other channel. I talked about it while she was culling around Trump, getting close to Trump. You can't go to war with somebody if you ain't got the right protection. And so I think Nicki, I think she pulled a chess move. Somebody said she ain't playing. Yo, no, that she pulled a chess move by getting around Trump and trying to get. To me, it's getting that protection and that coverage she need. Because if shit pop, you got to remember all of these things gonna add up. There was allegations that Jay-Z and Diddy ran in the same circles. We saw these dudes in pictures together, folks. Jay-Z denied that. He says, "Oh no, we wasn't friends." Blah, blah, blah. Remember all of these things, right? Then remember who Beyonce and them went and spoke for in the election. Wasn't Donald Trump. Wasn't Donald Trump. It was Kamala Harris, who Beyonce and them went on that stage for. Trump doesn't forget any of this stuff, in my opinion. Right? Back to 50. So when Jay-Z came up in those files, 50 said, I may have to do a documentary on Jay-Z. Now, some people just blew right by that and was like, man, whatever, man. 50 just talking shit. But some people was like, nah, nigga, this nigga's crazy like that. That nigga ain't just saying something and he ain't standing on that. I personally thought, even though I knew 50 was going to do that documentary on Diddy, I thought that maybe he planned with Jay-Z, this, that, and the third. After I saw this in the Epstein files today, I'm telling y'all right now, if I was Jay-Z, ladies and gentlemen, let's get right to it. This was released in the Epstein files today, and I'm going to read it to you. And the context is very, very, very crazy. But I want you to listen to what it says and when it says 50 Cent, how it mentions 50 Cent in the Epstein files. This shit was explosive. Now, look at the top, y'all. The date was 10/12/2023. Now, think about this, y'all. That date was way before Diddy got arrested, charged, went to jail. This is way before all of that. This was October the 12th, 2023. And this was an interview. Read this again. Look at the top screen. This was you. It says you interview of, and it bleeped out that person's name on October the 12th, 2023. And let's just start at this part right here. It says from the very top of the sentence, very first paragraph. Let's read this, y'all. It says, out of the $600,000 promised in the joint venture agreements, leading up to the joint venture agreements, investments maturity date, blank, sent text messages to blank to ask about how and when she would receive her investment back. Blank stalled in his response to blank and kicked the can down the road, quote unquote. Blank was patient with blank as she learned blank father had recently passed away. Eventually, blank needed some money to help pay her bills. Blank sent a $30,000 wire transfer to blank bank account with Chase Bank after the 5-month investment maturity date came and went only after blank specifically requested the partial payment during a phone call from blank to blank. Second paragraph. Blank engaged recently over social media with social media influencer known as Tony the Closer. Blank discussed with Tony the Closer her investment with blank and blank failure to return blank investment. Following that event, blank received several private messages on Instagram from individuals identifying themselves as victims of blank fraudulent investment scheme. Agent note. Blank will follow up with the interviewing agents through blank regarding the identities of other victims who contacted her on Instagram. Last paragraph in yellow. Blank knew blank received a settlement related to her involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. Blank is a psychopath who manipulated blank with, amongst other things, promises of joining blank on a forthcoming documentary with 50 Cent. This shit blew me out my seat. God dang. This some diabolical shit in these Epstein files. Let me repeat this again. You have to do your research, your homework. Everybody came out. They thought that 50 had just did this documentary on Diddy just after the trial. But this interview was on October the 12th, 2023. This was almost close to a year before Diddy was indicted. Wasn't Diddy indicted in late 2024? Sat in prison until, jail until his trial in early 2025 or mid 2025. Got convicted and got the 50-month prison sentence. Now, wait now. Read this again, the last paragraph. Blank knew. Let's read that again, because this shit is crazy, bro. Blank knew. Blank received a settlement relating or related to Epstein. This motherfucker Epstein allegedly was involved with this mofo. This Epstein was damn near running the world, if you believe these files. This mofo was locked in. Read this one more time. Last paragraph. Blank knew blank received a settlement related to her involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. Blank is a psychopath who manipulated blank with, amongst other things, promises of joining blank on a forthcoming documentary with 50 Cent. This shit crazy. And people, let me say this to everybody listening. I'm going to talk about this live on my podcast show a little while later on. I got to go inside this store real quick. But I want to say this to y'all. And make sure y'all click that link pinned at the top and subscribe to the podcast. I dropped 6 or 7 new clips today, but I'm going live on this later on today. But I want to say this. When 50 had been going hard body online, taking all these jabs, going at Jay-Z, Nicki Minaj did too. Tony Busby went at Jay-Z. Jay-Z went hard at Tony Busby. Tony Busby's not in the rap industry. So Tony Busby might not be privy to all the little information and stuff that went on in the rap industry. Tony Busby's a lawyer. But here's one thing I noticed. Nicki Minaj have been going at Jay-Z for the last, I would say, 8 months, hard body. 50 Cent been throwing his jabs and going at Jay-Z. We haven't heard crickets from Jay-Z about them. We haven't even heard nothing today. And Nicki Minaj straight up implied last night that Jay-Z is a PDF. She straight up implied it. And she straight up implied other things about Jay-Z online yesterday. Now, normally Jay-Z would be out here with his lawyers running down on things, but we saw something in the Epstein files as well, and that was Jay-Z's lawyer, Alex Spiro, in them Epstein files. And Alex Spiro, in those Epstein files, was described as a stone cold killer in those Epstein files. Or should I say those emails? Took Alex Spiro, his NYC partner, stone cold killer. I want y'all to think about something. Jay-Z went so hard at Tony Busby, but Nicki Minaj is out here saying that she knows all the secrets and she's gonna tell. But we haven't heard Jay-Z stand one thing on Nicki this entire time. And one could say that Nicki is slandering Jay-Z. Why wouldn't Jay-Z use his lawyers to go ahead and get Nicki up out of here, sue her and end her financially and get her up out of here? With all of these things that Nicki Minaj have said in reference to him online, putting pictures of him up online with different ages, insinuating things, doing all these things that Nicki Minaj been doing, and 50 Cent as well. I thought about this. What's the difference between Nicki, 50, and Tony Busby? Nicki and 50 are in the industry. They're directly in that industry. So they may be privy to a lot of things that it may be hard for us, normal people who aren't involved or aren't in the industry, to believe. Because you would think that Jay-Z, with all of the things that 50 have put out there, it's like they're baiting Jay-Z. Come on and get this smoke, boy. Let's take this out here to the public. And Jay-Z ain't taking that bait. But he went hard at Tony Busby over that girl. But Nicki is straight up putting this stuff online. She straight up implied that this man's a PDFer. Last night, crickets. No Alex Spiro press conference. No demand of an apology. None of these things. It's almost like these people know too much to go to war with these people. Why won't Jay-Z flat out just stand up and go at it with 50 and Nicki? But when I saw this in the Epstein files, $50 out here cleaning up behind these scenes, allegedly, because read that last paragraph again. Bleep knew Bleep received a settlement related to her involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. 50 Cent blew up. Let's look at what year 50 Cent blew up. Well, first of all, let's look at 50's age. 50 Cent age. 50 Cent, ladies and gentlemen, is 50 years old. He's 50 years old, right? So let's go back in time. How old was 50 Cent in 1996? 50 Cent was 21 years old in 1996. 21 years old in 1996. How old was Jay-Z in 1996? Jay-Z was 27 years old in 1996. 50 was 21. So then I had to say, what was 50 Cent doing in 1996? Right? 50 in 96, according to the reports, he was in the early formative stages of his rap career, having just been introduced to Jam Master Jay of Run DMC. Jay taught him essential skills like structuring songs, countering bars, writing hooks to his Hollis studio at his Hollis studio. And during the time, 50 Cent was recording demos and developing his early sound. So this is what 50 was doing in 96. 50 was breaking into the industry in 96, right? Why do I ask this? Because I told y'all yesterday, 50, he definitely would have known a lot of people in the industry then, in 96. People went to parties, events, social events, group events, things like that. So in 96, 50 was doing that. Now in 96, Jay-Z had put out Reasonable Doubt, his first album, right? So Jay-Z was already in the industry as well. He put out Reasonable Doubt. He was a little ahead of 50. And remember, 2 years after Reasonable Doubt, Jay-Z just blew up. Just superstardom. Pac had died by then. Big had passed away. And Jay-Z just blew up. Right? 50, my point to say all of this, he definitely would know a lot in the industry. Because in 1996, 50 was in the industry breaking in himself. Right? He was breaking in the industry himself in 1996. So it just makes you think. Why are these people always jabbing at Jay-Z? Then it makes me go back to the Gilly interview that Gilly did talking about Jay-Z. Gilly went in on Jay-Z. Jay-Z didn't say anything. Jay-Z let that ride. But peep what Gilly said. You have to listen once again to what Gilly said. But his was a little different approach than what 50 and Nicki Minaj's have been. Now let's hear what he said.
Like an XO. And this shit's smooth too. You sneak up on you. Fucking run up on you like a bank robber. What have you learned, or what did you learn, or how have you learned about the music industry? I learned that all of that shit is fake. Really? Yes. All of it, that's why I don't go to no parties. Because all of it is fake. All of it is a bunch of fluff. All of it is a bunch of drunk lying to each other. Man, we gonna get together, man. Yeah, baby. Yeah. I ain't got your number. Shut up. You ain't got to lie to me no more. I'm rich. Matter of fact, I'm tracking you now, and I might buy a couple of you bastards. Dude, you ain't got to lie to me no more. I don't. See, you got to understand. I'm this motherfucker, right? They call us, right? They say, Gilly, we want to invite you to the Rock Nation brunch. I'm the nigga that said, why would I want to come? Why wouldn't you want to come? I said, you want me to keep it real with you, or you want me to lie to you? Keep it a buck. I said, the Rock Nation brunch ain't of nothing but Jay-Z putting a bunch of on the lawn and then going in the back door and saying, I told you I still run this shit. Give me the money. Wow. You think I'm letting her use my brand? Huh? See, Rich shit like this. Yeah, I see how you turn to that. I got this shit from Russell and them. I ain't seen it yet. But I be seeing the rich shit like this. You know, they get a little money, they cross their legs and shit. That's all this is, man. Let's keep it real. I operate with 26 major brands. You think I don't know what branding is? Come on, we don't work from New Amsterdam Vodka, Manscaped, Harrier Razors, Roman Swipes, you name them. They come to $1 million worth of game because we move the needle. I don't let nobody allow to use my brand with their brand. What do you get from going to these parties except for a picture? Don't even smile with you if you ain't worth 500 million or more. Let's be for real. Only smiling they do is when the billionaires in the picture. Look at all these broke ass on the lawn. Come on, man. I ain't with none of that shit. I don't want to party with you. I built the way for myself. I made a way for myself. I made my own way. Me and God, man. So I don't want to kick it with you. I don't want to do nothing. I want to stay in my own world. Smoke my weed and make my content and keep kicking you asses. That's what I like to do.
Now, Pete, that commentary. You hear a lot of different rappers now saying this, a lot of artists saying these things about Jay-Z. But to read this Epstein paperwork right here, read this interview in the Epstein files. And once again, you have to look at the last paragraph. That is the most important. Matter of fact, I think I need to blow this up just a little bit, just so everybody can see that last paragraph, man. And you have to remember, this was in 2023. So this was before. Let me repeat. This is why this is very important that I think people have to really peep what the hell is going on. This was before Diddy was even indicted. This was before Diddy didn't get indicted until 2024, late 2024, after Cassie filed the lawsuit, right? So there was a lot of stuff going on. You know what it makes me think? And I'm going to talk about this on my podcast show tonight. If you ain't subscribed, make sure I click the link at the top and subscribe. It makes me think that good old Curtis Jackson knew a whole lot for years about what was going on. And now it explains why all of these years he been beefing with these dudes. Hard body. Read that last paragraph again. Blank knew, and I want y'all to really use your mind and think about this. Like, you really got to think. Blank knew Blank received a settlement related to her involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. How the fuck is Jeffrey Epstein linked in all of this shit? And then, think about this. Blank knew Blank received a settlement related to her involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. Blank is a psychopath who manipulated Blank with, amongst other things, promises of joining Blank on a forthcoming documentary with 50 Cent. That means if this is true, 50 already had that documentary and shit lined up for these niggas from back 2023. I'm going to tell y'all what I think. I think, and this is just what I think that once Diddy beat the RICO charges, because remember, that nigga was convinced Diddy was going to prison forever. And I think that 50 was smart because he waited to the end of the trial. Remember, all the other documentaries, they came out before the trial. But 50, what if that nigga, because you know 50, that nigga's smart, man. That nigga had to have somebody watching the chick, somebody knowing this. I don't think this shit surprised 50. I don't think none of that shit in the trial, it surprised everybody from the outside. Nigga, when you rich, you have PIs, all kind of shit watching your people. You got people that watch your people. When you rich like that, remember 50 was stupid rich. This was after selling all those albums, Vitamin Water, all that shit. 50 was dumb rich. So it ain't nothing for me to check in on my people and have somebody watching my people. So I don't think 50 got caught by surprise at all. I think 50 acted as if maybe he was surprised when he found out, or when the public found out, I should say, right? Based off his statements. Because if that's the case, why, unless the documentary wasn't about Diddy, it was about somebody else. Read it again. Bleep knew that Bleep received a settlement related to her involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. Boy, there may be a fly on a goddamn wall to know who was in these blanks. Bleep is a psychopath who manipulated Bleep with, amongst other things, promises of joining Bleep on a forthcoming documentary with 50 Cent. Wow. Wow. So then I had to look this up. When did Jay-Z, it's not Jay-Z, excuse me, when did 50 Cent start beefing with Diddy? Right? Let's look that up. When did 50 Cent start beefing with Diddy? It says 50 Cent beef with Diddy began in the early 2000s, with public friction starting as early as 2002, but intensified significantly around 2006 with the release of the diss track The Bomb, which accused Diddy of knowing who unalived the notorious B.I.G. The feud has continued for over 2 decades, characterized by business rivalry, social media jabs, and allegations. In 2002, 50 Cent first targeted Diddy on a notorious B.I.G. remix with the line, I quote, I run this city and I don't dance around like Diddy. In 2006, the song The Bomb directly accused Diddy regarding the 1997 unaliving of the notorious B.I.G. In the 2010s, the feud intensified over business, with 50 Cent, who partnered with F and Vodka, publicly mocking Diddy's association with Ciroc. In 2023-2024, 50 Cent intensified his criticism following legal actions against Diddy, including claims regarding Tupac Shakur investigation and announcing a documentary on the matter. So then I had to look, well, when did 50 start beefing with Jay-Z? Let's look at that right now. This is crazy work. And it says 50, for the most part, one-sided lyrical feud with Jay-Z started in 1999. The tension started when 50 Cent released his breakout song, How to Rob, which featured lyrics targeting Jay-Z and other prominent rappers. Jay-Z responded shortly after with the track, It's Hot, something like It's Hot, famously rapping, I'm about $1, what the fuck is 50 Cent? Now it says the cause, 50 targeted Jay-Z to make a name for himself, also reportedly feeling Jay-Z stole an idea regarding a collaboration with UGK. The escalation, it says 50 Cent continued to taunt Jay-Z, publicly criticizing him for never directly responding to his follow-up diss track, Be a Gentleman. right? Now they did appear on stage together at the Rock the Mic tour in 2003, which at that time had seemed to minimize uh, the the beef. But then it turned up, right? Jay-Z went on the I Get Money remix in 2007. But after that, after 2007, 50 been on his helmet, right? 50 accused Jay-Z of trying to block him from that 2022 Super Bowl halftime show, criticized that 444 album, and he's been going in on Jay-Z ever since on social media, Instagram, and all these other things regarding his personal life and business associations. So really, both of these guys, 50's had issues with both of these guys for damn near 20 years. Who is this article talking about? Because it's linked to Jeffrey Epstein's name is in here. So here's the question I have before I leave y'all today. From reading this, was 50 Cent privy? See, I'm gonna say this again. You have to ask these questions, and these are questions that's going through my head right now. If 50's doing these documentaries, remember one thing many people said. I heard Gene Deal say it. Shout out to Gene Deal. I've heard, I think a couple other people say it. I heard, I forget who else said it, but Gene Deal specifically said he met with 50 Cent. They had a conversation, I should say, right, about the documentary and what they wanted the documentary, saying how they wanted to lay everything out, blah blah blah. If that's the case, 50 had to have been talking to a lot of people involved with the documentaries. So 50 may have been collecting information for years. So the point is, do 50 know something that he ain't saying that can end everything? Which would explain why these dudes ain't went all the way in on 50. Especially Jay-Z. As hard as Jay-Z went on Tony Busby's not from the music industry. Tony Busby's just a lawyer. But 50 Cent's from that music industry. Nicki Minaj is from that music industry. Right? Let me give you an example. That's like us being a fan of a basketball team versus somebody that's in the actual locker room. Who gonna know more information? People that's in the locker room or fans sitting out there on the benches? Nicki Minaj and 50 Cent was in that locker room. I always wonder why Jay ain't go, even right now, think about it. All this stuff that Nicki been saying, ain't no way Jay-Z ain't put this girl on notice and said we sending a cease and desist and we gonna sue your ass. Ain't no way. Unless they know that Nicki and 50 really want to smoke. When you do documentaries, people talk to you. This is why so many people in the industry got mad at 50 Cent for doing a documentary, because they knew 50 Cent was talking to victims. So you have to ask yourself, if 50 is talking to victims, right? Think about this. If 50 is completely trying to destroy these niggas, and he's talking to victims and they're giving him all this information, imagine what 50 Cent may know. So to reverse back to what I was telling y'all, the date on this says October of 2023. This interview said 50 was already working on a documentary. And it had Jeffrey Epstein's, look at this. That's the date up top. And read it again. Blank knew Blank received a settlement related to her involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. So why would you receive a settlement due to your involvement with Jeffrey Epstein? It couldn't have been nothing good. So did 50 Cent get a whiff of this? Did 50 get a whiff of this information doing a documentary? Because you know when he doing a documentary, he said he have to be talking with these different people to find out their stories. Right? Think about it. Diddy, 50 was so sure. Remember this now. 50 was on social media. That nigga was so sure that Diddy was going to prison for life. I thought so too. He thought for sure Diddy was out of here, bro. But he waited. I believe once Diddy beat the RICO and beat the sex trafficking charges, I believe, I don't know if this is true or not, I believe that whole documentary 50 had, I don't think that that was the original version. I believe that it got changed because now that Diddy had been found innocent on those two key charges, there's certain things you can run in a documentary now because Diddy had got off on those things in a court of law, and that will put you in libel and slander. But it goes back to say to you, what was being said, if anything, to 50 Cent about these different people who allegedly were victims if he's working on a documentary? 2023, y'all. Diddy got arrested in 2024, late 2024. Went to trial in mid 2025. Read this line again from this interview in 2023. Blank knew Blank received a settlement related to her involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. Blank is a psychopath who manipulated Blank with, amongst other things, promises of joining Blank on a forthcoming documentary with 50 Cent. That means they had already been working on that documentary. Even before October of 2023. Diddy didn't get arrested until late 2024 after Cassie filed her lawsuit. Boy, this shit is crazy. And you have to ask yourself, how in the blue hell did Jeffrey Epstein's name come up in this shit? And it just makes me think, did 50 get some type of information that could potentially do some real damage? I personally believe 50 know a whole lot more than he said. I personally believe that. I told y'all. I did that video 3 days ago now. It says 2, but it's 3 now. And I asked the question, would Nicki use Trump to take down Jay-Z? And you ask yourself as you leave this chat room, why in the blue hell would Nicki Minaj all of a sudden run up behind Donald J. Trump and make sure she is all in his good graces? She got multiple reasons. Maybe she needs some assistance on things she got going on. She can get good fees for speaking at Republican engagements. If her rap's not going, she's not dropping no album. You know how much money they get off speaking at those Republican events? You can mess around and get $500,000 for speaking at these events. Shit, what the hell you need rap money for if you go over there and do all them, just speak at them Republican events? Then, if you're on Trump's good side and you got Trump's ear and you got enemies, Trump will make them his enemies. Case in point, Don Lemonhead. Nicki Minaj came out and insulted Don Lemonhead and called him a you know what. And days later, Don Lemonhead was arrested not by the state police. They had a federal indictment on this mofo. And Trump backed Nicki up on that shit with Don Lemonhead. So what you think gonna happen? Now if Nicki, cause see, the way I see it, Nicki was probably looking like, I'm going at Jay, but ain't nobody, like, I ain't really got no support like that. Cause remember, she been going at this nigga online for like the last 8 months, hard body. And it was like, she ain't really was getting all that support, I think. Then all of a sudden, the last couple months, she locked in with Trump. Heavy Chevy, nigga. Locked in with Trump. And now, she don't come out swinging. Like, yeah, I got the President of the United States of America rolling with me. And you know anything go against Trump, y'all know how Trump play. Donald J. Trump play for keeps. That's a fact. You ain't gonna just go at Jay-Z unless you got the right protection around you. Ask yourself, all of these things that Nicki did, and this was last night after just, look at this, y'all, 2 hours of her posting that. What did Nicki Minaj do? She got all these followers from MAGA now on her social media. Look how many people looked at that post in less than 2 hours. 3.2 million people in less than 2 hours looked at Nicki's post. Remember the main reason why Diddy probably didn't get a pardon. MAGA hates Diddy. What happens if Nicki can somehow join MAGA, which is what she has done, and get them to hate Jay-Z too? That is why I did that video. And now you see all of her engagement is buku through the roof. 1.8 million views on that. Now, if you go look at this today we're damn near 18 hours later. Go see how many people looked at that on Nicki Minaj's Twitter account. That's a lot of people seeing these slanderous things that she has said about Jay-Z. It's almost like Nicki was like, yo, I'm gonna go get me a whole new crew. But this crew right here is bigger than any crew in the world. She done ran up under the President of the United States of America. And Nicki, she sealed the deal with a kiss on the cheek, holding Trump's hand, going hard in the paint for MAGA. She going for the gusto. And I think now we know that 50 is too, because those two have been the main ones going at Jay-Z and 50 as well at Diddy. Y'all read it, and you tell me what you think. Why in the blue hell in 2023 with 50 Cent's name, and they're saying that he was working on it was a forthcoming documentary with 50 Cent. What was that documentary about? We don't know. We do know in 2024 Diddy was arrested. But it said whoever it was manipulated. That person was a psychopath. Blank knew Blank received a payment related to her involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. Blank is a psychopath who manipulated Blank with, amongst other things, promises of joining Blank on a forthcoming documentary with 50 Cent. Why hasn't Alex Spiro and Jay-Z and his legal team asked for an immediate retraction from Nicki Minaj for all of these things that she and 50 Cent have posted on their social media accounts referring to Jay-Z? Why haven't they? Remember, they won that case. Jay-Z just won that case against Ramir in court. And Nicki posted this last night, like, so? What's up? You got to ask yourself the question. You went hard at Busby. Nicki's out here. 52. 50 said he gonna fuck around and do a documentary on it. Like, share, subscribe, man. Make sure y'all go and join the podcast show. The link is pinned at the top. I'm going live on the podcast show. We almost got 6,000 subscribers on that podcast show. And I salute everybody. I dropped 6 different clips on the podcast today. And I'm going live over there about some of this stuff tonight that I can't just say a little something more I can't say on YouTube. But I'll be on the podcast show tonight. So the link will be at the top of the comment section. Make sure y'all check it out.